we're back with the Daily American, and I got my good friend, been kind of like a father figure to me, Kai, on the line. Kai, reporting from Tampa Bay. How are you, sir?
Oh, Dan, I'm well, thanks.
And you
It's all
just
good. Happy Wednesday to you.
happy hump day. You just got back from a sailing trip, correct?
Yeah, it was about 300 miles of slow cruising from Key West to the northeast portion of the Bahamas, known as the Abaco Islands. But it was very nice. We were in the Gulf Stream for a couple of days and then entered the little Bahama Bank, had a nice anchorage at a place called Great Sail Key, and another night at Spanish Key, and then finally into around the outside of Whale Key and down to Marsh Harbor, which is where the boat is stationed now at the nice marina there. It was a lovely, lovely experience. Quiet wind. We did a lot of motoring, but the crew got along well. We ate well, and it was very pleasant.
Man, that's awesome just to be out there on the water. Now the Gulf Stream, you said so what does that mean exactly? You get stuck in the stream of the the Gulf of, I don't know,
Well,
explain it.
well, the what used to be the Gulf of Mexico, which is now the Gulf of America, thanks to Mr. Trump.
I'm still calling it the Gulf of Mexico, but all my conservative Republican
Uh,
buddies have something to say about it. But you know what? I think it's playing into the same thing the left side does, and I don't like that. But then I find out it's a business decision, so we can drill, baby, drill in the Gulf of Mexico. I don't know.
what the Gulf of whatever. I don't really care.
Yeah, me
But
neither.
it's the, the water. The water flows out of there and from the lower Western Caribbean, and it pushes warm water up through the Straits of Florida, which are
Ah.
defined by that little body of water between the Florida Keys and the Western Bahamas, and up the coast of Florida to north of Palm Beach, and a little bit past there, and then the Gulf Stream eventually meanders out into the open Atlantic between Bermuda and the North American coast, and it kind of dissipates over off the coast of Scotland someplace.
Wow.
But and the water is warm. It's typically about 80 degrees or 78 at least. All year long, even in the colder Atlantic. And they say that there are actually some palm trees that grow in Scotland as a result of the uh, warm climate that the Gulf Stream provides as it sort of dumps warm water off the coast there. There's a few palm trees growing, so not coconut palms, but some other subtropical varieties.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I would love to get out to Scotland.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we missed our each other while I had just I just got back from a trip down in your area for a week with my son and his mother, and it was amazing. Man, it was just great. We stayed in Crystal Lagoon for about 5 days, and then the last two we went off to an animal sanctuary, Kai, and it was just like cool, man. Just like like foxes and wolf dogs and these
Oh,
beautiful. Go
and
ahead.
where was that?
This was in what road was it? Trebilly Road. It was called. Oh, I can't even remember now. My memory's gone, Kai. It's short-term memory issues, but I'll get you the name
Got
of it. But pretty much it was an animal sanctuary where they, like there was a domesticated deer there that literally you could hand feed. There were some very rare sheep. Like I think there was 3 out of 12 of them in the entire world this certain kind of sheep that they were trying to breed there. Tons of birds, peacocks, and then like a undomesticated, or an uncaged peacock, a male one, because the males are the ones that look like super beautiful with all these colors, and the females kind of look plain. And I guess that's how they, the males, the females attracted to the male with the most feathers and the most colorful, or what have you. But
Hmm.
this one was not like part of their sanctuary, but he just hangs out there
Yeah.
with like the other ones. What other cool horses? It was just peaceful. It was awesome. We did a little tour of the. It's a small sanctuary. And by small I mean probably like a couple acres, but it was cool. They had like a couple little houses that you could stay in, and it was only like $65 a night. Man, I wish I would have stayed there longer than staying in the Crystal Lagoon or whatever, that area. But because it's less populated, and it was just strictly peace, Kai. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to do. I'm actually met with the USDA afterwards, and to try to figure out about some farming programs that they have going on. And I start school Friday for to learning like the basics of farming, because I just want a couple acres and a few animals, and just raise my family on the piece of a farm, rather than this insane society that we live in. Well, it's not so bad, but you know.
Well, I wouldn't blame you for that. Give give the give the young ex Mikey a little experience with nature and regular life. There's plenty of time to be corrupted when people grow older and have access to internet and all that.
Yeah, 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 you're certainly right. But overall it was a great trip. And now I'm just back to work, and focusing on heating and air conditioning sales, along with a couple side projects I have going on, and primarily just focused on raising my son. And things are going really well with his mother. And yeah, I mean, I'm super grateful. I just I still get trapped in my head a lot. That's gonna happen, but I know how to. You got to take action when that happens. You can't just sit there and lull away. You gotta do something positive, and change your thought process. And obviously, idle hands are the devil's workshop. So I'm working on my mental, on my
Right.
as well. But I've learned a lot from you, Kai. That's for sure. On your 50, 57 years, or however old you are on this earth.
Older than I planned on being. Well, just
uh,
don't forget to make your gratitude list.
yeah, I know. And I was gonna text you this morning, but I have been hitting my knees though, and saying my prayers every morning, and you know, leading Bernadette and little ex Mikey to he's too young still, but he sees us. We get on our knees, we say a quick prayer,
Yep.
and thank him at night. And I dude, I love that kid so much. So everything's now everything is like is worth it. Now I'm looking back at all the money I blew, but I'm not dwelling on it. I just know that things are different now, and I won't be participating in gambling like a degenerate anymore, or drinking like a rabid beast, and just
Yeah, right.
yeah, and just trying to keep my mind straight, and one foot in front of the other, and try to figure out this. I mean, try not to figure out this whole life thing, because I'll tell you what, man, you just turn on the news, or even have a conversation with a negative person, and it's like gosh, just shut the fuck up, But it's you can't get away from it sometimes.
No, we met with a barrage of it on a daily basis. It's not good for the mentality or the psyche or for our inner spirit.
Right, but we do have the option to minimize the negativity by changing our environment, or turning off the television, or staying off these dumb phones, because all it is just junk. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, we get fed more of that bad information and all that other crap that we don't need to be exposed to.
yeah.
I've been leaving it alone a little bit. I was checking some headlines earlier, but I look at that little headline and I don't even I, I can't read even the article behind it anymore. I just don't really care. Some idiot in Congress is complaining about the other idiot in Congress, and they argue like school children, and I just don't really care.
Yeah.
I have a life to live and things to do.
Let's take a quick break.
Join me every weekday morning. I'm Steve, your neighbor, your friend, and I bring you stories from down the street and around the world that you probably haven't heard, but they may just make your day better. Real discoveries, real people, no doom, no drama. I'll leave the doom scrolling to your social feeds. A woman who turned potholes into flower beds. A teen who beat the odds after a life-changing fall. Sharks helping airplanes fly better. Just smart stories, all under 8 minutes. To start your day on the right foot. Safe for the carpool, great for your commute, and yes, there's always a dad joke waiting for you at the end.
Exactly. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Um, I got this book. I am interested in religion as a whole, just because of all the different religions, and how devout some of them are, that they're willing to die in the name of what they think they're dying for good causes, and fighting other religions. And it's just like, I got this book, Religions for Dummies, just to like, I haven't even opened it yet, because it's like the same, it's almost the same thing. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody's fighting over the same God, and it's just like, all man has corrupted so much, Kai. Man just corrupted. It's crazy. Money gets involved in organizations, and rules get made, and you follow these rules, and you'll go to heaven. And it's like, man, all this hogwash, and then there's so many people that are so devout to it, and it's like, have you ever opened your eyes to like anything else, or your ears in that matter? And I don't mean any disrespect to people of certain faiths, but it's just, people get stuck in their ways so easily, and it's because it's the environment that they're used to their entire lives, just passed down generation to generation.
Well, you're not wrong about that. And my take on it is God is pure and without fault and defect. Man, not so much.
No.
So when man gets involved as the representative, self-appointed representative or salesperson for the one and pure God, well, there's a pretty good chance that man's character defects are going to get a hold of him, and then that will change how the presentation is made. And so it's religious wars are not really fought over religion as much. At least my take on it is, and fought over religion as much as man's character defects, his sense of pride and his greed and his need to be right and you're wrong and all this other crap. Uh, I could never understand how the Catholics and the Protestants were all the time fighting one another. They work out of the same book. There's not much difference, except if you look at history, like in particular in France in I think it was the 14th or 15th century, the famous Cardinal Richelieu, I think his name was, uh, was trying to curry favor with the king and exert his influence. And the Protestants, who were known as Huguenots, they were, had their own thing. They were trying to be left alone, but they had their own leadership, and so the conflicts evolved. But it's not so much. At least my take on it is, it's not so much over my religion's better than your religion. It's just I want power, and I don't want to share it with you. So
Yeah.
therefore, I'll exert my influence, and that's just what people do. It's always been like that, and it always will be.
Yeah,
It's
even
man's nature.
yeah, even dating back to, I guess, yeah, this predates that Reformation or whatever the frick it's called, but the Roman Catholics and then the Eastern Orthodox, they split off, and same thing. They didn't want to report to the Pope, and the Pope didn't want to share the power, and then you
Yeah.
had, and they're still like that till this day. You got the Roman Catholic Church, and then you got the Eastern Orthodox, and which traditionally is East, right? So east of Europe,
Mm-hmm.
Russia, and I don't know, probably some other countries. Probably a lot of them were split when the USSR was around. I mean, it's just like I don't know, I can't even keep up. But there's so many different denominations. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I just had my old squad leader came on. He's a LDS member. He's the least person I would think would join a church. Period. But he's a solid dude. But now he's getting involved with the LDS. All I know about the LDS is there's the FLDS and then the LDS. FLDS, they had a Netflix documentary about the LDS. I guess was the original. I guess this guy, whoever the leader was, Jesus visited him in America or in a dream or something, and he wrote a book. He was a prophet, but anyhow, they have these promotions on social media of these good-looking chicks that you click. And I told this story on today's podcast that came out. You click them and it's clickbait, but then they knock on your door. And my retarded Marine buddy, who you've talked to before, he clicked on it because he's on a search for God as well, and he puts my address in because he parks his truck in my driveway, and he was there, so he puts my address in. Next thing you know, knock knock knock, these two like good looking girls are knocking at my door, and I'm thinking, oh, this is great, maybe I'll no. No, I was respectful, and they gave me the Book of Mormon, and they tell you, pray about it, and the truth will come to you, or this, that, and the third. But like, it's like the mind's a very powerful tool. I'm one to believe that if you pray for anything, you can manifest it through the power of God. And I'm not saying the LDS is right. I don't know anything about the FLDS except that Netflix documentary where it's called like Sweet Pray and Obey. And there's a big I think the Mormons are known for a lot of them having. These girls said that no, they don't partake in multiple wives or anything like that. Which, hey, I don't see a problem with that necessarily. Multiple wives. I mean, if anything, that would be a good thing for somebody like myself that tends to want more. But as of now, I'm content with my son's mother. I guess the bottom line is, who knows what the truth is about all these different sects unless you dive in and you live in them. Obviously, there are some ones that are you know um, very odd to certain people, but it's the same perception that those participating in it have against another religion. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's all very very confusing. But yeah, I mean, I just believe in myself personally, one God, and I think He's the God of Abraham, and all of the three major Abrahamic religions have manifested on their own a way to cause divisiveness and war and hate, through man and through corruption and through money and greed and power, and just like we're talking about, it's just. But what the hell do I know? I'm just a village idiot, Kai.
Well, the truth is not really knowable,
Right.
and anybody who thinks they know it are probably not right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
We
true.
might we might know it when we die, but we certainly won't know it when we're alive.
Yeah.
So,
And then dreams itself, man. Dreams are just. Sometimes I wonder if this. I know this is gonna sound weird. If this is the dream, and when we're asleep is when you're actually alive.
well, I don't worry about it. I try not to get all up in my head about those things
Yeah.
and just try to help another human being. Don't drink and go to meetings and clean house, trust God, and help others.
Yeah, that's certainly the philosophy you live by, and
Yeah.
it it uh it works.
Yeah.
I'm all about
And
helping other human beings, and currently not drinking, thank God, or partaking in any of that nonsense, but I don't, you know, participate in meetings nearly as much as I should, but like you always say, I know where to find God, um, at meetings, and usually sober-minded people, like-minded people, they're they're all good people. I just sometimes, I think that that's like another. It's almost like another. I know it works, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody that attends meetings, but I know it works, and I just I feel like that's like another religion. It's like another, it's like another form of a gathering of people, all with a common goal. Now that common goal is a very good common goal, um, but I think sometimes we all are connected directly to God, and following those principles though are key for anything good in your life. Helping others and reaching out to your hand, whether it's the homeless guy or the addicted man who needs help. And I've been helped in the past, and I should do a better job helping people, but I preach
well, you can help.
hypocrisy.
That's my,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, the the dream state might be interesting, but you can't really help somebody when we're dreaming.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, if 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 I if I need my broken arm set and I need a doctor, oh, sorry, the doctor is dreaming. He'll dream your arm back into a splint. No, wake his ass up.
We're
Bring the
all in
nurse over.
we're all in the matrix, Kai. We're trying to get out of the matrix here. We're trying to escape the matrix.
Yeah, whatever. It's 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 all strange, but
It really is. But wisdom that comes from you, man. You've been doing this for
well,
many more years than I have. So I take what you say. I always gravitate towards the older gentlemen, no matter where I'm at, because they've lived longer, and they have more wisdom, and live usually by better principles, because they've made mistakes, and have learned from them, and you know
so the main the main thing is when I think about it, Dan, and you and I have talked about this a little bit previously. It's about being spiritual or having spirituality, as they say. more than being religious. A religion can encourage that, but they're kind of two different things. Religion sort of has rules that goes with it, conventional religion, and spirituality does not. And and what spirituality really is the relationship between your spirit, what's inside of you, and my spirit, which is inside of me, or the spirit with any other living, breathing human being, between you and ex Mikey and Bernadette and parents, friends, people on the street, and how our spirits interact with one another, and how we help one another. And I've been helped many times by strangers and by people who had no real reason to help me. They were just nice, and I try to pass that on now. Like this young fellow, Dan, who came on the sailing trip with him. Dan is 27 or 8 years old, and he's never been to the Bahamas before. So I fixed it up so he could go on this trip, and helped him with his expenses because, he's a young guy. He's got a kind of a regular job. He can't afford to be taking a week off work and buying expensive plane tickets and all that. So I helped him because other people helped me when I was his age. And, we just pass it on. And
Yeah,
as a
man.
result, I feel better about myself. I have a little bit of self-esteem, and just being generous to others
Yeah.
wherever the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, that's awesome that you did that, Kai. Yeah, I mean, I gotta do more. I gotta do more of that. But I'll help. I'll help. I'll help anybody realistically. I mean, my
No,
landlord was digging holes and putting up a fence, and I happened to be off from work that day, and I just said, "Hey, can I help you?" And he's like 77, and he's a Greek guy, and he's in damn good shape, and you know, I I I I just helped him. I dug some holes for him. I did whatever I could. Anytime I see somebody doing anything physical, and if I have free hands, do you need a hand? Especially an older lady or gentleman coming out of the grocery store carrying bags, or
yeah,
I try to put them before myself. But I can't say I do it. I do it all the time. And then I get hit up for money, and anytime I can give, I give it. They usually all pay me back, so it's not really giving or anything. And then any proceeds from this podcast, I do donate to 501c3 combat veteran organizations, helping with like mental health and stigmas, and like the DAV, Disabled American Veterans. I'm going to cut them a check this week for a lifetime membership. And but nowhere near as how much I should donate. Oh, according to, I guess you're supposed to give one. I don't know what it is, 1/10 or something. Maybe that's what I tell myself, 10% to charities and donations. But I don't do that. But I definitely give way more than 10% away to my son's mom, and anybody who really needs help. But I don't
well,
donate it to organizations.
no. Charity begins at home, and you have to take care of your family first. That's a requirement. And then after that, you can't be charitable to others at the expense of our family.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, you're
it,
right.
it's that's only reasonable common sense. Um,
Yeah.
and anyway, this I was having a conversation last night with one of my AA friends that was over, and um, when you were talking about religion, AA is about a search for an understanding of God, and it's the search that's interesting. And and so I look for clues, and I look for experiences and things that might lead me in a direction to begin to understand how this mysterious God power works. Religion never did that for me. I went to church when I was a kid, and I'm not a thorough Bible reader, but I'm familiar with the usual simple things, the Psalms and uh, Revelations, and the beginning stuff in it. But those are stories, and they have meaning to them if we dig into it. But um, the search, it's a little more individualized, and so I begin to see how, from my experience, how this power has interacted with me and helped me in my life. Some of it has been quite dramatic and miraculous in ways that I wasn't really expecting. And so whatever explanation might be for that in the Bible, I don't know. But it kind of doesn't matter. The point is moot. The deal is that it's clear to me that there exists a power in the universe, a God of my understanding, that is very benevolent and kind and loving and very helpful. But it requires that I do certain things in order to, stay in the relationship. I try not to treat God like a rich uncle. Treat him more like, God needs my help as much as I need his or hers, as the case may be, whoever. And so, the question then becomes, what have I done for God today? Have I done anything to help this kind and loving power source? Or am I just treating God like a rich uncle? Yeah.
Right. Which many people definitely do. I've probably been, I mean, not a rich uncle, but definitely like just a father figure. I mean, your perspective's pretty unique on God, Kai. It always has been. I I look at it just as, I think that I dive deep into multiple pathways to heaven based off of their individual beliefs and how they're living. A little bit of reincarnation, but I don't know. But more importantly, Jesus was definitely on this earth. He walked this earth, and his message wasn't, organized in all these churches and do all this. He picked sinners or those that were afflicted, and in today's day and age, those that would be looked down upon on by society, and he picked those as his disciples, and for those to follow him. That was the church, just his small gathering, and it grew and grew. But then organizations or corruption and money got involved and created Catholicism. But his message was just it was very clear, and his two greatest commandments was just to love the Lord thy God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor. And that's pretty much what I'm really bad at the second part of it, which seems like you're really good at it. So that's probably why you know we bounce off each other. But yeah, I mean, those were his two commandments, and if everybody did just love their neighbor and then love God, I mean, realistically, what there or Jesus' message was pure as well, and it's like there wouldn't have been all this nonsense, and unfortunately, it's all written, and there's a lot more wrath to come from my perspective. But I do see the loving God, but there's also got to be, you know, there's the other side of what's to come, and it's not necessarily God. I mean, he is in control of it, but it's I guess it's because they say we won't turn away from our wicked ways as a society, and war against brother and nation against nation, and but what do I know? It could just all be, maybe you're 100% right with it, and I'm 100% wrong, but who the heck knows? The point of this podcast is to share unique perspectives on
Yeah.
both, and to open the minds of people with interesting conversations.
Well, that's what we do.
That's exactly what we do, Kai. I it's getting late here. If I hit the sack early now, Kai, because I'm up at like I'm crack when I mean crack of dawn, like I'll be up around 3:30 in the morning. I'll do a little reading. I'll first I'll hit my knees, then I'll do a little bit of reading, and then I'll work out. Make like a shake or something, and then work on some side projects, and then off to the office I go for an honest day's work, and then I repeat. But I wanted to ask you if you had any last piece of advice or one last story or anything for the audience. What would it be? Tough.
Well, you think of love as an action word, and
Okay.
you said the two commandments: to love thy God and love your neighbor. Well, is that just an emotional feeling,
No.
or are you performing an act of love?
Yeah.
And what would that act of love be?
Yeah.
And
No, you're
so,
right.
and so, um, I would say that love is more about behavior than about emotion. And
Sure.
and so, if I'm going to perform an act of love for my neighbor, may not need it every day, but if I see him, it might be, like, my next door neighbor, I take the trash bins if he's not home, and I put his trash bins away, uh, or it doesn't have to be your next door neighbor. It could be the neighbor that lives across town that you run into at the gas station. Open the door for somebody carrying, packages or drinks or something, and um, be helpful along the way. And the same would be true if I'm going to love God, then I have to do some action step that would help God in his desires.
Yeah.
And what would that be? What have I done for God today? Well, God doesn't need my help. He's, all powerful and can do everything. Not true. I don't think. I think God needs our help. He
Yeah.
certainly needs our help in an AA room. That I know for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there certainly is. Yeah, there's nothing besides good people filled in those rooms.
Yeah. So, people helped me when I went there to get sober and have a better life. And so I need to pass that on and help others who come behind me. And so that would be helping God. So,
Yeah, and that's exactly what you do, Kai. So you're on to something, that's for sure.
and the last part, if you think about, it's often talked about having a relationship with God, which is different than just thinking that God's there. Okay, great, but what do I do? Relationships have two people in it. Therefore, if God's doing something for me, I need to do something for God. Uh, and that's partly what prayer and meditation, where that comes in, because that's a little bit of a conversation. You can't have a good friendship with somebody if you never talk to them, right?
Yeah.
So, right. So if you talk to somebody and communicate every day and find out what they need, and, be helpful along the way. And so, as it turns out, I think, and this is just me, that my relationship with my fellows is tantamount to my relationship with God,
Hmm.
because my fellows are all of God's children. So
Right.
it would be counterintuitive for me to think that I was all right with God if I was busy being mean to his children or lying, cheating, and stealing from them.
Right.
But if I'm good to his children when the opportunity presents itself, then there's a fair chance that I will be on good terms with the God of my understanding.
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense as well because if you're lie, stealing, and cheating from anybody, obviously you're not living by human standards, let alone God's standards. So, I mean, I
No, and even if I'm not actively lying, cheating, and steal, if I'm just being selfish, and inconsiderate, I don't have time to help that person. I don't know, forget them. I'm too busy. I want to watch the ball game, or I want to go, go to the amusement park or the casino or something. I'm just not going to make myself available. Whereas the neighbor or the person or fellow citizen or one of God's kids, that means I'm not available to be helpful if I'm too busy thinking about myself and being doing self-serving things. So anyway, if you ask for a final comment, I would just say, love is about action, and take good, loving actions toward all those that we encounter, even if it's just a simple smile at the checkout lane, and God will be very happy with us.
yeah, I think so. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Kai. And the search never ends. You know that relationship never ends. Because if we're not searching, then we're not really that interested in um God. If we're
Yeah.
not searching, right? If we're not trying to figure out the meanings of scripture or the meanings of relationships or the meanings of love, like you just explained, then I don't know. I think the human and yeah, I love your your concept on the human relations.
Well,
We gotta do
Dan, we
both.
know that what the wise man said. It's pretty hard to teach a guy something he thinks he already knows. So if I think I have all the answers, then don't bother me, right? So and and to be kind, and remember that kindness is the language that a blind man can see and a deaf man can hear.
That's right. Yep. Be kind,
So be kind.
especially to
Be
those
kind
less
to God's
fortunate.
kids. Yeah.
Yep.
All
Especially to
right.
those that are less fortunate. All right, Kai.
Good talk, Dan. Thank you so very much. Thanks for thinking of me.
Of course, always. I will talk to you
Yeah.
soon, and thank you for coming on the Daily American, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I love you and I love your listeners. So there you go.
You're the man, Kai. I love you too.
All right. All the best, Dan. Thanks.